Okay, in this course video, we're going to get started with some actual finger picking. Now to keep things simple, we're just going to keep all the strings open. We're not going to use any chords or anything because the whole goal of this video is to get our bridge hand comfortable with some actual finger picking patterns. If you have no experience in reading tab before, I do recommend going back and checking out one of the beginner guitar courses. That way you can understand it a little bit better before you get into it here. However, if you have read a little bit, you understand the basics of it, that should suffice for this video because we're going to keep it pretty simple, pretty basic. So we want to be able to read some tab with our eyes and quickly be able to play it without thinking about it too much. The faster that we can get our bridge hand operating without thinking about it, the more that we can concentrate on our fretting hand, which is handling much more complicated things. Along with this video is a PDF with 30 picking exercises that you should be sure to download. Let's take a look at the first one so I can show you how it works. So taking a look at the first exercise on this sheet, we're keeping it to all open strings, and we're sticking to that PIMA system for our bridge hand. The thumb, the index, the middle, and the ring finger. And we're going to do them in that order. Thumb, index, middle, ring to start. So that's thumb, index, middle, ring. E string, G string, B string, E string, but you're going to let those notes ring out. That's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The big key here is we want to keep it in rhythm. 1 and 2 and then repeat back to the 1. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. And you want to keep it going in circles, keep it repeating without any pauses in there. If you have pauses, you don't have it quite comfortable enough. We got to get it without pauses. And when that's comfortable, we then move on. Remember that we want to keep the bottom of our palm at the top of the bridge, and we want to pull in our fingers like a fist when we're plucking those strings and we're not twisting our wrists or anything like that. We want to try to keep our hand as still as we can. And when you can run through that exercise, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and you can do it again and again without thinking too much about it, and it sounds good, it flows, then you're doing really well, and you move on to the next one. Then we move on to number 2. The number 2 gets a little more complicated for 2 reasons. 1, we're going to pluck the A string with our thumb instead of the E string, and 2, we're changing the order of IMA to MIA with our fingers. So first we move our thumb down to the A string, and instead of P-I-M-A, we're going to go P-M-I-A, or thumb, middle, index, ring. P-M-I-A. And just like the last one, you want to keep it in rhythm. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and you may have to start slower, and that's fine. You work your way up to a more comfortable speed like that. So again, that's P M I A P M I A, or 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So let's jump ahead to number 7. And number 7 is going to get a little more difficult because we're starting with the I, a finger, instead of the thumb. It's going to feel more natural, more comfortable to start with the thumb, but we're finger pickers. We want to be versatile. We also have to be careful of our rhythm here. When we're playing a pattern like this quickly, it can be easy to get lost on where the pattern starts and where the pattern ends. So when you practice this one, you want to be sure that you're starting at the 1 and ending at the end of 2. 1 and 2 and then recycling back to 1. You don't want to get lost in that mix, especially when you're going fast. So if I demonstrate this one, it's going I, P, M, P, I, P, M, P, or 1 and 2 and 1, and 2, and. Index, thumb, middle, thumb. Index, thumb, middle, thumb. We're now going to jump ahead to number 10, where we're going to add this new complication where we're going to switch strings with our thumb inside of the pattern. We're going to do P, M, P, A. Let's take a closer look at it. As you can see in number 10, we're going to be going from the E string to the A string, doing a pattern of P, M, P, A. Thumb, middle, thumb, ring. And just like all the other ones, we want to keep to that 1 and 2 and. And here's a closer look for it. P, M, P, A. P, M, P, A. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. If I was going faster. And now when we take a leap to number 14, we still have the alternating bass with the thumb, but now we're skipping the A string altogether, going P, A, P, M, going from E string to E string to D string to B string. So we're going to skip over that A when we're doing this pattern. And like always, 1 and 2 and just keep it going in circles. So number 14 up close would be P, A, P, M. P, A, P, M. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. And we're going to take one more leap up to number 22, which is a bit more tricky. And I'm going to show you what I mean by taking a closer look. So looking at 22, the complication is actually the thumb because we only use it once and it's not the first thing we hit. So where this gets difficult is when you're going really fast, A, P, M, I, and you go A, P, M, I, A, P, M, I, A, P, M, I. Especially beginners can get lost in the rhythm and they actually think that as they get into it, that this is actually the one because it feels natural as our starting point. And that changes our end point to that. So you would start APMI, 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 but you end up ending PMI, A, and you might end the pattern on the A. The important thing is to know where the pattern starts and where the pattern ends. And that's why I highly encourage saying APMI or 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and making sure you end at the proper point and not randomly in the pattern. So demonstrating this one up close, it would be A, P, M, I, A, P, M, I, A, P, M, I, A, P, M, I, or 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. As you work on these one by one, start slow, build your speed up, make sure you're keeping the rhythm, getting that hand really comfortable. You don't have to finish all of them to move on to the next video, but I do recommend at least having a handful down really well, but still continue to work on them as you're going on to the next video. As a last note, not all tab is going to have the PIMA system written down on it. But once you've had enough practice with a handful of patterns and you're really comfortable, you won't even notice if it's there or not. Your hand will be kind of running on autopilot, so you don't even worry about what fingers you're using. Again, once you have a handful of these down and they're pretty comfortable, you can do them in circles, move on to the next video. But continue to work on these until you can get through all 30 of them and you can do them well and they're comfortable.